Hi there, welcome to 16 Style Types, our Facebook page, where it's myself, Jill Chivers, together with Imogen Lamport. We're going to be talking through one of our 16 style types, the ENTP, the Enterprising Stylist, the Style Chameleon. This is one of our NT style types, super style of NT, which are the style strategists, with that big picture, helicopter strategic view about everything and anything. But ENTP is having a particular approach which is led by intuition and supported by thinking. And so we're really excited to be here with you today and talking about this fantastic style type and what they bring to the style arena, and what makes their approach to style so ENTP, and some of the things that we who are not ENTP preference people, what's some things we can learn from the way that they approach style?
They have some pretty big, bold ideas, don't they? I think that's one of the things you always see about the ENTP. And I have one of the consultants that I've trained has ENTP preferences, and she certainly has a bold style. She's never scared of standing out, but she also has a chameleon presence where she knows that sometimes that her boldness can be overwhelming for people. So if she's doing some consultations and she might think, I need to really soften down my look for this situation. So she's quite aware that that's something that she needs to do that she could otherwise be seen as a bit scary. Because they've got that, it's that NT, there's a certain strength to that NT sort of type that can be seen, particularly for maybe some of the other types, can be seen as a little bit too in your face, too scary, too dramatic.
A bit intimidating.
Yeah.
Some of those big ideas. I know as a type practitioner who's been attending Australian, New Zealand and international type conferences for 15 or so years, that I can often feel intimidated in the presence of NTs in general, but ENTPs certainly, with all of those big ideas, and they're very vocal often about what they know. They're often extremely competent and extremely knowledgeable, and they are two really important things to ENTPs in general: knowledge and competence. It's often what drives so much of their behavior. It's coming from that need to share with the world what they know, and it can overwhelm. It can be like a tsunami of competent knowledge coming towards you, and that thinking preference as well. So the attendance is not to interactions with other people, the attendance is to logical, objective, information-based information. So they can often be catching up, but a little slow on the uptake of the wake of people behind them who are trying to stay with them. So ENTPs can often be great at enrolling others, but they need to have paid that attendance to their third function, their feeling function. And when they do that, they are often really, really terrific leaders, and it translates into their style, this sense of whole of wardrobe, whole of outfit, the top to toe kind of look. And there's a greater degree of variance. This is one of the things that differentiates ENTJs from ENTPs. ENTJs will often have a consistency of style. ENTPs, much greater variability in the way that they present themselves.
Yeah. So they are creative and unconventional catalysts, aren't they? They like to try out new approaches to find a better way and not necessarily following anybody else's lead.
Yeah, they tend to like to, they're a get things going style. So they very much like to be in the thick of things. So again, different to ENTJs who like to be in charge. ENTPs very much like to be involved, and they really need other people to engage with them. One of the reasons they need that is because follow through isn't generally a strength for them, so they often need other people. From that perspective, they're really great at the initial stages of most things, getting the ideas firing, possibilities, and they often connect things that you think, oh, I would never have put those two things together, or those 10 things together. How fantastic is that? And of course, when it comes to style, this is often where that lack of detail orientation and follow through can often be a bit of a hurdle for them, where they don't have all the pieces that they need, or that they've got a portion of what they need for all the roles they play in their lives, but they're missing big chunks of things. So this can be one of the things that can slow them down when it comes to their style.
It's often that big picture thinking is not noticing some of the details too, that maybe the shoes don't quite go with it. Like those things are often very common amongst the big picture types.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes the things are out of date. Like I bought these black court shoes, they're quality leather, wonderful brand, and I've had them for 25 years and just no real sense that they could have gone out of date, or they could be dating their look. And ENTPs, there's a few style types that often need some convincing that style is a worthy pursuit, that it is fitting for the contribution that they're making to the world beyond style. And ENTPs, that's often their very first step, is getting on board with the idea that style is a resource, it's a tool. It can help get their big ideas across, it can help enroll other people, it can help other people to see them for the competent, knowledgeable change makers that they are. And once they get that, they're often great advocates for style and often, very encouraging to other people in that regard too.
Yeah. So they are systems thinkers too. So this is where, they can create, creating your own systems is something that's really important. And particularly when you're a big picture thinker, creating a system that also has you looking at the detail to make sure that you're not leaving some of those things unchecked. That's something you could think about how to do. And this might be a time right now when there's a bit of extra time on your hands, possibly. That thinking about what is the potential, where am I going in the future, what do I want my wardrobe to do for me, because we are also future focused as an intuitive type, and then maybe actually like looking, it could be a great time to go into your wardrobe, see your wardrobe gaps, like maybe can I create 10 outfits that work for different aspects, for all those different aspects of my life where I need to be different for the different roles, and then looking at those gaps and then figuring out what do I need to get to fill those gaps in. And then you can slowly start to look for them, whether it's, it may just be looking online right now, but it could just be putting that into your sphere. One of the things I find as an NT type that I need to do is I'm not looking, like I know that if I try and just go, I need to get an X, when I go into the shops, there's no X's, you can't find an X for love nor money. So if I've decided I have to have an X and X's don't exist right now because they're not in fashion, it can be a bit tricky. So instead what I do is I put it into my kind of, my system where I know it's there. And then so what'll happen is that somewhere around it, that thing that will work in that situation, I'll stumble across that. And so it may not be that actual X that I'm looking for. I might discover that Y works just as well. But I've got that idea of what I'm after in my thinking system.
Yeah, exactly. And this is also where trusted advisors can be really, really helpful, because shopping for fun, I don't think we've met an ENTP where it's, a regular hobby that they enjoy. Yes, they might enjoy a spot of shopping, but not in the way that some of the style types really do enjoy it as a hobby. So having a stylist or a personal shopper can be helpful in that regard, to be on the consistent lookout for those kinds of items that have been strategically chosen. And of course, the other thing that is paired with that is because ENTPs aren't necessarily looking for versatility. They do have this chameleon-like, I'm going to change everything up for this look. Pieces that work in multiple situations, they're not on the lookout for that. That is not the lens through which they're reviewing their wardrobe. So that can be a helpful thing to say, where else could this particular item, which might be unique, or even a wardrobe orphan, where could this be put to use in my wardrobe in a way that I haven't thought of yet?
Because they're likely to have some wardrobe orphans, because they tend to buy on inspiration often, because they haven't done that, that bit of work to go, well, what are my gaps are. So, I'll see something and it's exciting and I'll just go and buy it. And then suddenly I end up with, it doesn't really go with anything. So because they're not necessarily putting that versatility, do I have 5 other things it goes with before I buy it, which is something they could borrow from some of the other types who do that. But yes, so it's thinking about, I've got those orphans. Well, what can I do with them? How can I put them, together? And can I use them in different ways?
Yeah. And look, all of the style types, we all have blind spots in some way or another. in life, but certainly when it comes to style. Even the 4SF types who we say in our research have come more naturally to style, all 4 of those style types all have blind spots.
Yeah.
And the successful ENTPs that I know that have really nailed a style approach that works for them have found some sort of system.
Yeah.
And that's what they're using. It's system-based, which then drops down into some sort of tactical reality, but the connection is with the system that's working for them. So, you know, an ENTP that I know, it's all about bright colors. So every time I wear it's lime green or it's hot pink or it's fire engine red, and she's got really dark hair, high contrast coloring. She's tall and statuesque, and so it suits her particular coloring. But no matter your physicality, you can bring in a system that is going to support you. And so she's just found a way. She drops into the detail when she needs to for short periods of time, because that's what activates her style. But it's always about the system.
Yeah. So one of the style tips too for our ENTPs is to think about their wardrobe as a whole. So clothes, shoes, accessories, hair, makeup, even your manners and etiquette. And it all wants to work together as a comprehensive, complementary and coherent whole. So organising your wardrobe where everything can be seen. And this is something to think about, that if you know, to go in and actually organise a wardrobe. And people often ask me, you know, how do I organise my wardrobe? And I would suspect, because, you know, we can do all tops together, all bottoms together, but we can also do, if you are someone who has a lot of different roles or likes to dress quite differently in your different roles, it might be, you know, organize your wardrobe in roles. And that might be something that's great for the ENTP, but then also have that ability to see everything. There's nothing worse than having, you know, stuff over the top of things. You just don't see things when you've got 3 things on a coat hanger. What's the bottom layer? Who knows? Nobody ever accesses that. They don't go, well, that's that thing I'm after. You know, it just gets forgotten. So that's something to really think about, is how to organize your wardrobe in a way that works for you and your type is something, because we all have different things. Some people, the versatile wardrobe people, like to have, you know, more our ST types, certainly, I think on the whole tend to prefer this. I want it to be really versatile. I want to be able to dress it up and down. I want to be able to wear things for multiple different occasions. So I want it all together versus if I'm dressing in for different roles, I might actually want to have my different lifestyle roles more separate. And that could be really useful. And then, you know, organized by color and style and various other aspects of, you know, organizing that you can think about.
Yeah, exactly. ENTPs are also the ones highly likely to overturn rules or ignore rules, not see the rules altogether. You know, think the rules are stupid, or they're, yeah, exactly. They're archaic. They apply to other people, but they don't apply to them. And so this can also be an interesting way to navigate through style is to say, well, what are the style rules? Which one's actually going to help me? Because all this big picture possibility, divergent ideas popping around is a key strength, and you never want to lose connection to that. It's one of the things that makes you an ENTP. But the balance point to that is harnessing those that work for you and employing them in a way that makes style an efficient system for you, so that you're not constantly always in that reinvention mode, which will be at some point, unless style is your business, it will end up being a fatiguing element. So this is where, you know, finding some of those style parameters or those style principles and putting them in place, it can be extremely helpful to you as an ENTP, because then it will give you a sense of momentum with your style, rather than just something just sort of be a bit of a rogue element, or, you know, they can have this sort of subversive sort of one eyebrow up sort of, you know, really, you know, kind of approach to things that they don't consider to be important.
And I think too that because often you're, you know, maybe not the people who love the shopping and those sorts of things, finding someone who you trust. So don't just go to any image consultant. You need to find the one that you can see has the expertise, because again, NT types tend to appreciate competence. And so you want to find someone that you go, this is the person that really, you know, understands me and my needs and what I want to do and how I can show my credibility and competence. So rather than just, don't go to someone who's all about the latest fashion, because they're not the right person for you. You want to make sure you choose your image consultant wisely. Choose someone, and like with that introverted thinking that you have, I'm sure you can do the research into finding the right person for you. But don't just go and see anyone. I think that would be something, and like every type has someone who's going to work for them more differently. Like one of the things people ask me when I'm training image consultants is, but like if you're training all these people, don't you worry about the competition? And for me, I say no, because I know I'm not right for everybody. And you won't be right for everybody. Different people, appreciate different aspects, different ways of going about things. And so it's important to find the version that is right for you.
Absolutely. And certainly when it comes to anything to do with style, whether it's applied to you as an individual or to your home or to any other aspect of your life, one of the biggest hurdles for ENTPs is thinking that it's frivolous, that it doesn't matter, that it doesn't make a difference. And we would say as a universal principle that it has an impact, that the way that you dress, the way that you approach, how you look, the person it affects most is you, but it also impacts on other people. That research has been done and verified and redone, and we know that there's a verifiable basis for believing that it is true. And so, but even if it's just your relationship to yourself, it's worth doing. One of the ENTPs that we know in general is somebody who lives quite close to me, and I visited her home on a few occasions. And when I was there, before lockdown, I visited the bathroom, and when I came out, I made a comment about all these beautiful details that she'd done. She'd had a little tray, and she had an old-fashioned perfume bottle and blah, 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 a few things. And she said, "Oh yeah, I learned it all from you guys." And I said, "Oh, who are you referring to?" She said, "Oh, the ESFJs, anything that's stylish here, that's who I've learned it from." And she was quite dismissive of it, like she'd done it, it was finished. Like you could tell this was not a daily source of joy for her to do this, but she knew that it made a difference. And she borrowed from the respected style advisors, if you like, whether or not they're ESFJs or other style types. And, she'd put it in a place that made sense to her. And I thought, yeah, this is an ENTP who has made style work for her. Now it's applied to her home, but good for her. It fits into her life. She's not tried to contort herself or turn it into something that it isn't. She hasn't dismissed it. She hasn't, declared it frivolous and unworthy. And I just thought, yeah, she's got that together.
Yeah. So one of the things I love about the ENTP is that they're inspired experimenters. They are not afraid of taking a few risks. And they can master their experimenting to create some new and different looks. So it creates this is their extroverted intuition. It's that where can I go? Where are my possibilities taking me? And that's something that many types can get very stuck in ruts. It's very easy to get stuck in a rut. And so taking a little bit of this, I'm just going to have some experimentation and have a bit of fun and try something different, can be something that we can all steal from our ENTP friends.
Absolutely. And one of the things that distinguishes ENTPs from ESTPs is their auxiliary function being intuition. So for ESTPs, it's sensing, that pragmatic, I am going to turn a bunch of ties into a skirt. You're probably not going to see that with the ENTPs because they are not bounded by too much reality. They have that sense of just sheer, I'm just going to go with possibilities. So it can have that slightly wild and crazy kind of aspect to it. But that's what's so much fun about it, because even if it doesn't land in wild and crazy land, it still takes you further. It's like I've aimed for the stars, not the top of the trees. And so, we end up somewhere that we would never have ended up with because, we're not going for practicality here. We're just going for ideas, possibilities, connections, what could be, what if.
Yeah. So, and so one of their strengths is that become an impression creator, an impact maker. You rarely forget an ENTP that you meet. They're not the forgettable type of person. They've got that personality. It's usually quite strong, can be seen as intimidating if they're not careful, but they are quite good at knowing their audience and their situation, and therefore adapting themselves.
Yeah, they're terrific influencers and change makers. And, one of the ENTPs that Jane and I have worked with quite a lot in California really exemplifies this, worked with some innovative companies, education institutions, not the kind of person that you forget. brilliant presenter, wonderful at putting ideas together. So an ENTP that has really harnessed all these big ideas and put them into a cogent form that we can all get on board with. And it really is that kind of, wow, I never thought of that. And that's what they excel at. And so, you know, they really are just fantastic at shaking up existing thinking.
Yeah. So I think that, you know, some of the things that, you know, their little style downfalls can be, ignoring helpful rules. So, you know, sometimes rejecting style rules. Like, look, don't necessarily put the word rule. This is why I often use the word guideline. They're guidelines, not rules. They're not hard and fast, but it's, you know, there are, you know, the reason why people have come up with these style rules is they do work. They've kind of got some general principles that actually work. They're based on, you know, actual, you know, things that do work. It's not just somebody's made it up. Like some of those rules, like don't wear white after Labor Day, that's a made up rule that you can ignore. But that was made up for people who lived in very snowy environments where your white got very dirty and muddy very easily. And so it worked in that environment. It doesn't work everywhere else in the world. But so looking at what are the kind of style guidelines that work for you. So instead of just dismissing it as, you know, hokey pokey or, you know, just stuff that doesn't matter, I think that's something to be aware of, that if you haven't yet embraced style as being a way for it to help you be seen as competent and credible and for people to listen to your ideas, then, you know, don't just dismiss it, because that's often what people will do, is just dismiss stuff without actually doing any research into it.
The ENTPs that I know that haven't quite gotten a handle on their style are borrowing hodgepodge from stuff that has come from previous incarnations of their working life, or somebody once said to them, navy, you can't go wrong with a navy suit, or whatever it is. They've sort of got this sort of hodgepodge, this grab bag of stuff, and there is no sense of flair or panache to their style. ENTPs are a noticeable, extroverted, drawing attention kind of style, personality type. And you want your style to reinforce that. So when it is staid, boring, dull, there's nothing interesting about it, that's always a signal to me that that particular person with ENTP preferences hasn't embraced that idea that there are guidelines that can be applied to help me be more of who I already am. This is not to turn you into somebody else or make you subscribe to something that you don't believe in. It's to make more of your natural brilliance more easily and quickly available to us. And style is just a tool that you can use to do that. And when ENTPs do that, it's like they reduce all the barriers between us and them. And sometimes their ideas can take a little bit of time to try and get a handle on what they're saying or where they're going. And, you know, style can just help you get there quicker, better.
Yeah. There's so much to style that I think it is an interesting sort of thing, because I have met a few ENTPs over the years who just have a very dismissive kind of, you know, they've decided it's not important, and it's this, well, people should just be able to see my incredible brain and ideas. You know, they should not get stuck on the outside. And it can be because, you know, like, and this is where I find that NTP types are the most likely to actually not judge other people on their appearance in the same way as many other types do. Yeah. And so they say, because I don't do it, well, nobody should do it. And that's one of the things they have in common with their INTP cousins, is that they often have this, well, I don't really judge people on what they look like. So they think that it matters to no one. And so that can be something that it's a bit of a hurdle to get past for some of them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So one of the things, like, let's just talk a little bit like shopping, because it's not their natural environment to go shopping. So some strategies you could think of as an ENTP with shopping would be things like getting the lay of the land, often doing a reconnaissance. One of the things I would suggest is often just going to the online version of stores before you even go to the bricks and mortar. Because sometimes it's this, well, where do I actually want to go? I don't want to be wasting time. They're not time wasting people now, are they, Jill?
Not when it comes to practical things like this. They can often spend an inordinate, uncountable hours, you know, in things that truly engage, you know, their big thinking minds and, you know, adding to their storehouse of knowledge. But something as potentially mundane as shopping, no.
Yeah. So yeah, so getting that kind of like, go online, see what places you want to go to, then, make yourself a little plan and go to them. I often find as an NT type that I like to go into a store. I like to do a quick squiz round. Jill and I had this shopping trip once and she commented afterwards, it was quite funny because I've never thought about how I shopped, that I do a first pass where I get an idea of what's in the store, and then I go back to the bits I'm interested in. And
I thought you were finished, and I couldn't believe it. It's like, how could you be finished in this store already? And I was only in like section 1 still, out of say a 8-section store, if you like.
Yeah, and it was quite a store crammed with stuff. It was plenty to look at, but I need to scan first, and I imagine then that's probably a fairly NT thing, is scan first, get the big picture, work out. I go, okay, they've got this over there and that over there and this over there and that over there. So now I've got an idea of the lie of the land, and now I'm going in for what I'm interested in. So now I'm going into the detail, and I'm going to look at each individual piece. I don't, of the bits I'm most interested in. So I think that's probably something that maybe, ENTPs could also find as a useful sort of skill.
Yeah, absolutely. It was our ENFP who told us about if she was looking for purple jackets. This is based on online stores that have a free return policy. She would order 12 and then send back 12 or 11 or 10. And ENTPs have a not dissimilar kind of approach of, we really want to start broad. We do not want to start narrowing things down too much, and they can have this sense of, well, if we just let ideas pop, who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah. Got to find the best one. And so they also might be the type who goes, I'm going to go and try on whatever it is I'm looking for, even if it's as boring as jeans or black pants or something. I'm going to try on all the black pants in all the stores. Then I'm going to put all the ones I liked, from each store on hold. And then I'm going to make my decision at the end. Like, I'm not going to narrow my possibilities down to buy the first pair that I come across. That sometimes would be like one and done. I know my ESTG husband is like, yeah, no, we found some black pants. They work. We're off.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we're out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're just a few little thoughts and tips and ideas for our ENTPs. Hopefully, we could all learn something, from each type. So that ability to have that big picture thinking, that taking some risks, that some of the other types, don't feel so. But of course, they too can learn that sometimes we need to rein it in as well.
Absolutely. And as an SJ type myself, I know I'm always dropping anchor as soon as I possibly can. I want to close things off, tie things up, label it, box it, store it, put a leopard print bit of tape on it. And so keeping the door open, the metaphorical door open sometimes, I find this a useful approach, and I borrow it from NP types in general, but the ENTPs with that sense of possibilities that's bounded by strategic imperative. This can be incredibly helpful to say, is this worthy of staying in my wardrobe? Adding some of that logical principle based thinking, just peppering my style, not borrowing it wholesale because it isn't my natural way of approaching style, and too much of it will drain my enjoyment of style. But little bits of it are incredibly helpful to say, this is just going to pop some of this into my style, and that will really help keep my style fresh and alive, and also keep it, really relevant and, really strategically efficient. And there's there's value in that.
Yeah. So hopefully this has helped you if you're ENTP, or if you know an ENTP, or you just want to steal some of their style. So we will be back again soon. Of course, you can get your ENTP style type report from 16styletypes.com. And we've got lots more. You get lots of, extra videos and bonuses and all sorts of things with your report. So do come along. Plus, we've got masses of free articles on, understanding your type and approaches to style and all that sort of stuff to give you a little bit of, a broader perspective on style, because often style has been so equated with fashion that what we're really trying to do is take it out of that and turn it into something that's really much more about who you are as a person, how you want to express yourself, who you want to be, and who you are. All those things tied up in our packaging, our outward expression of self.